Hello and welcome to this lecture on Adobe Photoshop by Eduonix. In this lecture we're going to be looking at graphic styles and character styles. We took a look at paragraph styles in the paragraph tutorial. So we go ahead and open up, go to Windows Styles. If you're on a Mac, I think it doesn't say Windows, it says something else. And I'm just going to put these in here next to the character styles. As you can see, there's already a few styles that come with it. If I draw out a selection, on a new layer, I can apply those to the layer, and that's what graphic styles, or just styles, get applied to, is the layer. So when I paste in, it's got this style on it already. And you can change them just by selecting new styles. It'll automatically override anything in the way. Let's take a look at these in color, because it started me out in gray for some reason. And as you can see, the thumbnail gives you an indication of what it's going to look like. And the real power in styles is being able to create new ones. And let's just take one that has a lot already as part of it. Something like this got a gradient. So you can go into these styles, which are just down here in the effects. They're added, and you can edit them and make your own. So let's just edit this drop shadow. Make it stick out a little bit more. And just hit new. It'll give you the option to name it, and it'll also give you the option to include layer blending options. So I usually select that, even though at the moment there's no layer blending options, but it's nice to have these options to be able to include certain things. You're almost always going to want to include the layer effects. That would be these things right here. So I'm going to hit OK. And as you can see, a new style pops up down here. So that's the basics of creating styles. Now with you can clear styles and you'll see them all go away at any time. It's really easy. The great thing about styles is they're non-destructive editing. If you watch the tutorial on non-destructive editing, you'll see how you hopefully get an idea of why it's important and how it's important, because you can always go back and undo changes. You don't have to rely on your history, because I can only go back so far in my history. I can't see anything before that. So if this was permanent, then I couldn't get back to the original. I could get back to the original, but I couldn't get back to anything before this step and after this one, this is the first one. But so you see, you can save styles, and up here you have a lot of options. There's a preset manager, which works like any other preset manager in Photoshop. So all these styles that you see here are all the default ones, and I can load additional styles into it. I can also get rid of ones I don't like, and then I can save sets, and then I just hold in shift, or it works like file selection, holding in shift and control to select certain ones. You move them around where you want them, then you select, if you want to save them all, let's say, select the last one, holding shift, and then select the first one. You probably include this no style, and then you would hit save set, give the option to just basically create a style file. So that's the preset manager. And as you can see, resetting styles allows you to go back. And it doesn't undo the one you have if it's even not in there, which this one isn't in there. I would just, if I wanted to, create a new one. But let's take a look at replace styles, and you'll just load certain ones in to replace ones that are already in there. It's kind of like a shortcut for the preset manager. So, and obviously you have the same options like text only for styles, or large thumbnails if you have a big screen, you want to see all of them. If you want to change the name of any of these, you just double click on them. So that new one I created, I can change the name just by double clicking on it. Because a lot of times you'll just want a new style and you'll want to name them later if you want to save them. I usually don't save all my styles. One thing you'll notice is that when you have a style, it'll display FX next to the layer. You can hide or show those styles right here. And if you go into layer, layer style, you can hide all the actual effects. And it's the equivalent of hitting the eyeballs, but it does it for all the layers all at the same time. And so instead of deselecting every single eyeball on every single layer, you can just go up and hit that shortcut. If you want to, without creating a new style, although this is the way I recommend doing it, is hitting new when you have your thing selected. If you want to copy these and put them onto another layer, let's say, like this one, you would select the layer you want to copy from, go up to layer, layer style, and copy layer style. And then go up to layer, layer style on the layer you want to paste it on, like I selected the red square, and go to paste layer style. And you can remove individual effects from a style just by dragging the effect itself to the trash. And there's you can also just hide them, as I showed you before, or you can, as I showed you before, click clear layer styles, which is also up here. It's this little button down here, and it's also under layer, layer style with everything else, clear layer style. And in layer style under scale effects is one that you may or may not have to turn on or off. Or you can make the effects bigger just by using this. So if you resize your artwork and you make it bigger, then let's say you make it twice as big, then you'd select something like 200%. And that would make everything twice as big. Whereas if I make this like twice as big, you see the shadow's the same, everything's the same. So that's why you might want to make it bigger. One thing that's really cool in layer style up here is the ability to create layers from the style, so that, as you can see, it creates all these clipping masks and it gets rid of the layer, but it still looks the same, which is great because you can edit individual parts of the style as layers in Photoshop, and this one's really useful. So layer, layer style, and create layers. really useful effect there. And while you can't go back and edit this as a style, you can remove individual parts. I could go right back to having a red square. Let's say I liked everything in that style aside from the gradient. I could go back to having a red square just with by hiding this. And obviously if you wanted to go back, you were so far into it, your history was all the way backed up, you would just delete these and delete these, the ones that are created from the create layers command, and go in here and just apply your style again. Once again, the benefits of non-destructive editing. So in all of these styles, as you can see, you have a lot of options. The options are pretty self-explanatory. Just go through and play with them. But really, it's the same options as you would have when you add it as an effect. So we go into that in the effects menu. But there's one little extra thing here for things like drop shadow. Let's see, outer glow. I know it has it. Inner glow. Anything with like a curve or whatever, and you can see what it does by just changing this. It adds a shadow that's like, see right here, the shadow, the further it gets from the edge, in an even way it'll fade off. Whereas this one, it'll be a lot darker closer to the edge, as you can see, and in this one it'll be kind of the opposite. And you can have different shadow effects with this. It's kind of like the same as bevel. I believe this is also in bevel. Yeah, you can change your contours. So play around with that. And then in character styles, if you watch the video for paragraph styles, it's pretty much the same thing. It copies everything for a character. And just watch the video on paragraph styles and apply the same kind of concept and logic to character styles. For instance, if I want to type something out here, and we make it 24 points, a certain color. It's got like all of these properties, and I would just hit new character style, just like I'd hit new graphic style or new paragraph style. And when I say graphic style, I'm of course referring to styles here. And then that can be applied to anything, so it'll be character style 1, just like with graphic styles. I can double click on this to rename it, and you can actually edit the character styles inside there, which makes it a little bit cooler. Same thing with the with load character styles. You can load it onto here. This is kind of like the preset manager in a way, and that pretty much covers all of the style options. This plus the video on paragraph and paragraph styles pretty much rounds up all of the the basic and intermediate style options for Adobe Photoshop. But definitely watch the one on effects, layer effects, and that kind of thing, and learn about these individual effects and what you can do. And practice, practice, practice.